Is it time to give credit where credit is due? And let's put in the spotlight Keldon Johnson.
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey everybody, this is Nathan Ray Clark from Criminal Minds and Modern Family, and you are listening to Locked On Spurs, hosted by Victor Wembanyama's new best friend, Jeff Garcia.
Welcome back to Locked On Spurs and the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Ken's 5 San Antonio. As always, I am glad to have you back. Hope everybody's having a great work week and getting through this very short work week, so it's not too bad. And y'all had a great 3-day weekend. Hey, in case you can't tell, I got sick again, everybody. Yes, got a cold once again. Hence an audio video, no video, excuse me, audio only, because you all don't want to see me right now with tissue stuck up my nose and whatnot, red nose, drainy eyes, everything. It's pretty bad. But anyway, what are we talking about today? We're going to be giving credit where credit is due. Is it time to give a standing ovation to Spurs GM Brian Wright? Also, Keldon Johnson, we're going to put him in the spotlight. What is one thing we want to see him improve upon heading into the new season? Thanks for making Locked On Spurs your first listen. Available on Spotify, YouTube, pick a platform. The Locked On Spurs page on YouTube, Ken's 5 Plus app. The list goes on and on. Again, here for you every single day. Coming up soon, we'll be back to 5 days a week very, very soon. So, how this whole idea started with Brian Wright was, I think it was one of last week's shows. I did kind of a quick intro about Brian Wright. And there are some fans coming out saying, you know what? Maybe you're right. Maybe it is time that we give the man who's building this team a pat on the back. To me, it's more than a pat on the back. I think he deserves perhaps a standing O for what he's done. Minimal whiffs. I think perhaps the biggest whiff he's had so far was the Josh Primo one. People want to say Luka Samanic. Luka Samanic was on RC Buford's watch, so let's not forget that. But not too many misses, more hits. Sure, the Primo one was kind of a downer. I mean, a big downer, but nevertheless, I think overall you look at Brian Wright's, his resume so far as a GM for the Spurs, and it's not too shabby. Flipping players for first-round picks. Yes, even guys like Drew Eubanks, first-round picks. What he did with DeJounte Murray, flipping him to Atlanta for a haul. I mean, that was a haul they got from Atlanta. And even the little moves like moving Bryn Forbes, moving Derek White, all to amass an incredible war chest of draft picks. And whether he's here in the interim, whether he's here in the future or the long term, doesn't matter. He set up the Spurs perfectly for future rebuilding projects, whether it be the one they're on right now, the current one. They got WNBA, but they still have a boatload of money. They still got a boatload of picks. They're ready to go. So let's just say the situation that calls for a multiple first-round picks or a lot of cash or flippable players, guess what? Brian Wright put the Spurs in a position to do that. What if the Spurs want to move up in the draft and a team is asking for so many first-round picks? Well, guess what? The Spurs can do that. I don't think much is getting said about Brian Wright, and I think it should. So, yes, I know there are some doubters. I know there's some naysayers saying, oh, look what he did in Detroit. So much of a bang-up job. But everybody in their job, in their resume, has those bad moments. He was still a young buck at that time. He got the experience there. He got some experience in San Antonio under Buford, then took the reins, and now look at him go. And all in all, it's been pretty good about Brian Wright and what he's done for this Spurs team. I mean, landing Wemby is a big piece. Who's to say that he'll be that other branch of the Spurs tree? People talk about the coaching tree. Budenholzer, Will Hardy in Utah, the list goes on and on. What about the executive branch? Sam Presti, what he's done. And now, Brian Wright, producing one of the better GMs in the NBA. So it's about time that we give him credit where credit is due. Let's go and bring in our guest. He is Rudy Campos. Go bring on. Where's Rudy? Rudy, are you there?
I am here, Jeff. I am here.
He is with Sweep the League. And what did you know, Rudy? I got sick again. Caught the cold again.
It's weird. I think I'm always on the show when you're sick. I don't know. Are you allergic to me? I mean, what's going on, man?
You know what, man? I wish it was simple as that. I don't know. I as much as I try to take care of myself, I don't do a good job. But I mean, as much as I try to, that's one thing my family always says about me. They're like, "Man, you get sick often." Yeah, it doesn't take much for me to get sick. And I guess I was around somebody who had it, and I caught it. So here we are. Trust me,
Yeah.
Rudy, you do not want to see me on video right now. It's a bad look. It's a bad look. Talking about bloodshot eyes, lack of sleep, big red nose, tissue stuck in my nose. It's not a good sign, but I'll get better. We'll be back doing videos soon. But
Great.
make sure to follow Rudy on Twitter at Sweep the League. And Rudy, I think it's time we give credit where credit is due. Everybody's saying like, yay, Spurs on the court, Wemby and Devin and Jeremy and Sidi Sissoko, yay, Coach Pop is back, yay. But behind the scenes, there's somebody putting that together. That's Brian Wright. And dare I say he's got an A plus, or at least an A for me for his time as GM in San Antonio, what he's done for this franchise.
Yeah, an A for Brian Wright. I would say I'd give him an A as far as transactions go because he has stockpiled a lot of picks. He stockpiled a good amount of first rounders, almost reminding us of a former Spurs exec, Sam Presti, what he's doing in Oklahoma City. But he's also clearing up a lot of cap space. So if the Spurs wanted to go into, the Giannis sweepstakes next summer, they have all the money in the world to do that. And a lot of the better players on the team are still on rookie contracts or young contracts. So it's not costing them a whole lot. He gets an A plus when it comes to, I would say the administrative work on stuff, but I can't really give him an A when it comes to, drafting if he's the one making the draft part. Now, it's not a shot at Keldon Keldon was on the RC Buford watch there, but like for Vassell, for you mentioned Primo, you mentioned we also mentioned Jeremy Sohan. I really haven't seen a lot from these guys to give them that A plus or even that A, maybe an A minus because of the potential there. But as far as drafting goes, I don't really give them that A or A plus on that because I haven't seen these guys really come into their own yet on the court. But it takes time. I will say, all disclosure, it does take time.
Yeah. For me, why I didn't give him an A plus is because there's the Primo situation. We don't know the full story. Could have been more of the Spurs. Brian Wright doing more of the background check, or was this something just caught the Spurs by surprise? They had no idea, allegedly, that Primo had this in him. But so there's that, and also too, I don't give him an A plus yet because the rebuild is still going on. Maybe it's not as apparent, but it's still going on. I want to see what he does now with the picks. I want to see what he does now with all the draft stockpile, all that money the Spurs have. They can throw some big amount of cash at a free agent like now, right now, or if there's rumblings that a certain player wants out, they can make a swing a deal. They're going to be major players in free agency and at the trade deadline and the off seasons to come. That's thanks to Brian Wright. And look, it didn't start off right with the Spurs fans. And a lot of Spurs fans didn't really take a shine to him. They were kind of hesitant, like, who is he? Does he even exist? Nobody ever sees him. Oh, look what he did. Oh, Primo, bad pick. Look what happened. Oh, he should have gone with so-and-so, but instead he picked Sohan. But little by little, the building blocks were there, the long game. And I had the opportunity to speak with Brian Wright. He's always about the long game, not the short game. And that's been the Spurs for the most part. It's, we're playing this out. We're not going to rush the process. And he's pretty much on board with that philosophy. And you look at netting Wemby, going through the tank season. I mean, he knew what had to be done. He never said it outright, but ahead of last season, the tank season, he did an interview with SiriusXM NBA Radio where he all but said things need to happen in order to position themselves to get a high draft pick, and they did that. Is it too early? Way too early? And should I pump the brakes? But could Brian Wright challenge for one of the best Spurs GMs in franchise history?
No, I mean, if I say pump the brakes, I'm talking maybe just slightly tap the brakes. Like I said, he's done a lot of good stuff, a lot of great stuff, especially in the admin side. When he's added a lot of draft picks, he's added a lot of cap space. he's made good moves. And you know what? Let's be real. The trades that he's made, with DeJounte and Derek White, they've been favorable trades in favor of the Spurs. I mean, I hated giving up Derek White, but seeing the return you got for him, I think I would have made that deal, and a lot of other GMs would have made that deal without hesitating. Obviously, the DeJounte trade, surprising it was for the Spurs fans, it had to be made. And look at the how you're getting back. You're getting that unprotected first-round pick coming up here pretty soon. So I like the trade that he's done, and I think you're okay. I wouldn't pump the brakes. I would maybe tap on the brakes because he still has a long way before we start putting him in the R.C. Buford category. He still has a whiles away before we get him into the Sam Presti category. Now, Sam Presti didn't have a whole lot to do without R.C. Buford here. He was kind of like R.C. Buford's right-hand man. But just seeing what he grew when he was in Oklahoma City, what he came out to be, that shows the kind of, executive we'd love to see for the San Antonio Spurs. And Brian Wright's on that part. I think it just has a little bit more to do with drafting. And, also you can't really – the whole Primo thing is hard to put because I think Brian was the one that was spotlighted on everything on that. So does that kind of affect his, his status as far as an executive of the year type thing?
Yeah.
It's hard to say because you're right. The whole story hasn't come out, but he was on the spotlight majority of the time when it came to the front office.
He is. Rudy Campos will sweep the league. When we get back, we're going to continue to chat about Brian Wright and get into some Keldon Johnson talk. What's one thing we want to see him get better ahead of next season right here on Locked On Spurs? But before we do all that, I want to talk to you about FanDuel. You got to check out FanDuel right now. New customers get $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Plus, all customers who bet the $5 will also get $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Now's the best time to join FanDuel. This app is easy to use. You can be on everything from spreads to player props and more. Listen, go to FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season with an offer you don't want to miss. Look, if you need to back that up, just ask so many people who are on FanDuel right now. Go to any social media platform. Ask them, how's FanDuel doing for you? They'll probably say, hey, it's great. And I've used it. I don't know if Rudy's used it, but if he does, I'm pretty sure he's had a good experience. I think everybody who ever uses it has a great time using FanDuel. Especially Rudy, he loves to look at those numbers there. So I'm pretty sure he goes there often. Once go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to kick off NFL season with an offer you don't want to miss. FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL. We're back right here on Locked On Spurs with Rudy Campos of Sweep the League, and we are talking about your silver and black and giving a little love to Brian Wright. As always, we thank you for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every single freaking day, and that's coming back soon. So, if I look at Brian Wright's work so far, I think my number one, I can hit the best move I'd like to see him do, or I've seen him done, is from the DeJounte Murray thing. I think for me, that was huge. I think what he got out of Atlanta was just a haul for an all-star, technically, but borderline all-star, because the only reason DeJounte got in was because of an injury thing. But nevertheless, you get those multiple picks. You get that Spurs get that trade that they needed for the rebuild. They got it. That move was my number one move from Brian Wright. What is your favorite move from Wright so far?
So I'm trying to go back and think on this, and I want to say DeJounte's trade is number one for me. I mean, you're right. Getting the picks that he got in return, it was a very surprising move, but it was a really good one because I remember at the time that it was made, I started telling a lot of people on Twitter and around social media that it could benefit because the Hawks are probably going to be a lottery team around that time. With the way Trae Young is, he's probably not going to stay in Atlanta. And lately we're getting rumblings that the Lakers are interested and Trae Young may not want to be there. You saw them already trade John Collins. So that number one pick that's unprotected looks, it's getting sexier by the day because it could be a lottery pick. And if the Hawks are a terrible team with DeJounte on there, you're talking about possibly a top 3 pick from the Hawks. So that's probably the best move. But I think the one thing I give Brian credit to was – and I put him at the high list. It's in the height of the Primo thing. And I like the way that it came out. There was scrutiny, there was a lot of blaming, there was a lot of, fan backlash and everything. And not necessarily that it was swept under the rug, but it was handled the correct way. It could have gotten a lot worse. It could have been an ongoing thing. But with Brian there, and also with the help of, I'm sure, of RC and Pop, everything got squared away. So it kind of benefits me to see that we've got a guy who doesn't buckle under pressure and doesn't allow stuff like that to affect the team perspective. It's still everyday operations no matter what's going on, and they handled it, I think, the best way possible. So again, I don't like the way it was going on with all that stuff, but at the same time, it just shows that he's a smart guy. I mean, he really is. And they said, hey, we made mistakes, we did this and that. You don't hear that from a lot of front office guys. So I really have a lot of respect. And I think that was one thing that highlighted for me was the way he was able to handle the entire Primo thing. And they kind of just said, okay, we're done with all this. We're done with it. We're going to wipe our hands clean and move on.
Yeah, he's a straight shooter. I guess I can mention I've spoken to him before, and he'll tell you, straight up what it is, and he never deviates. When it was about, I hate to bring this up with Primo, before the allegations happened, he would say, we're going to let Primo grow into his own. And they did that. They didn't rush him. Minimal time in Austin, more majority time in San Antonio. Same thing with Wemby. He said the same thing. Wemby's going to be Wemby. We're not going to rush him. And you can expect that in his rookie season. Yeah, I mean, Brian Wright, for as much as Spurs fans give him, I think, he's earned it. He's earned a little bit of credit already. I think he's earned it in buckets full, because I just like how he set up this team for the future, playing the long game. And the long game looks bright in San Antonio. Another move that I like that he did was going for Jeremy Sohan. I think there was a lot of other names on the board at number 9 that the Spurs fans were hoping he would pick, but they went with Sohan. And what a surprise, what a revelation. Eerily similar to Kawhi Leonard. I'm not comparing Sohan to Kawhi, but when the Spurs got Kawhi, it was like, oh, he's all defense. What offense is he going to give you? Then lo and behold, Kawhi was offense and defense. I see shades of that with Sohan, very defensively minded, yay, and, a budding offensive game. We saw that last year, his ability to score. And, I think that's been kind of like number 2 on my list of a move that Brian Wright has made. Hey, when we get back, we're going to continue our chat about your silver and black and get into Keldon Johnson. What's one thing that Rudy Campos wants to see from Keldon next season? An area of improvement, if you will, right here on Locked On Spurs. And make sure to follow him on Twitter at Sweep the League. But before we do all that, I want to talk to you about Mudslingers Drive-Thru Coffee. Yes, Mudslingers, the best coffee in San Antonio, a proud local sponsor of Locked On Spurs. And the first, I might add, it has everything you need from a coffee spot. We got the original drink, the Mudslinger, which is espresso, dark chocolate. I mean, it's just very, very good. Go get it right now. They also have dairy alternatives. They also have drinks that get you charged up and ready for the day, like the Red Bull Lightning Infused line. It's basically a drink that'll get your engine going if you need a kickstart throughout the day. And part of that is the the Alien, which is in honor of Wembayama. And it is a full can of Red Bull. It is kiwi, apple. I mean, it is just delicious. You blend it all together. It'll get you going for the day. The mini donuts. I hear Rudy Campos hoards them every time he goes to Mudslingers. Is that true?
It is, in case I ever in a tough position, I can always bail myself out with those wonderful mini donuts.
Yes, the mini donuts. Yeah, that shows you that Mudslingers is more than just coffee. It's also a little bit of a snack spot as well. Over 300 5-star reviews cannot be wrong about Mudslingers. It's so popular. They even have a drink in honor of UTSA's Frank Harris called the Sub-Zero. It's a brand new drink. Go check it out. They also have the OG OJs. Again, for a drink, if you just want to take it easy, it's basically the Orange Julius recreated only at Mudslingers Drive-Thru Coffee. It's located in the Stone Oak area at 2404 Thousand Oaks Drive. That's 211604 area. Go there right now. Great reviews. I mean, fans love them. You can find them on TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, Threads. I mean, pick a platform. They are always there, and they're churning out new drinks every single day. They had a Barbie drink. They had I think it was like a banana pancake drink. It was just so delicious. You got to go there right now. Mudslingers drive-through coffee. I go there. Rudy goes there. All of San Antonio goes there. Life is too short for bland coffee. Let's continue our chat with Rudy Campos. Follow him on Twitter at Two Shots Podcast. Now to put Keldon Johnson in the spotlight. Let's do it, Rudy. So the season is slowly but surely coming fast. It's a few more days, which means training camp is going to start. You're going to get that, preseason games, and then the real deal begins. When the new season begins, we'll give Keldon training camp and preseason to get better. But when the regular season begins, what is one thing that Rudy Campos wants to see KJ improve upon heading into the new year?
So it seems like every year we talk about Keldon and what we want to see him improve on. You and I sit down and talk about it on a show, and it's always the same thing: get to the basket, get to the free throw line, be more, get to the rim, draw more contact. That's kind of the consistency. But I'm changing it up this year, and I just mentioned it, consistency. I want to see him being more consistent. He started the season very, very strong. And he kind of ended the season like if you were running, 5 miles and you were just kind of sluggish at the end there. You just couldn't make it, but you forced yourself to cross that finish line. And it's like, okay, I need to see more of that consistency from start to finish. I understand it's a long season, but if you're averaging, I think he averaged 22 a game last year. There was a lot of spurts where he went down, was getting, 10 points, 11 points, 8 points. And it just felt like, those are some of the games where if Keldon was right there at that 18, 19, 20, 22 points in that game, you would have seen a few more Spurs victories. So I want to see Keldon be consistent. If you're going to start hot on that season like you did, keep it going. And that goes as far as shooting, too, from the three-point range. I just want to see a complete, consistent Keldon Johnson from start to finish. I think if that happens, you're going to see more Spurs wins this season.
For me, I want to see more finesse to his game. That's what I want to see. I want to see him a little bit more savvy, pass a little bit more, with, finding the open guy and making the right pass, decision-making. That's the kind of savviness I want to see out of him. We know he can get the basket. We know he can get those and ones. We know he can flex when he gets the and ones. We know he yells. We get all that. But I want to just see him evolve into a kind of a point forward. I would like to see that, dribbling skills improve a bit, and for him to just the IQ to not to simply default all the time to head down, go to the rim. I mean, if it works, it works. But I think defenses will key on that and just like dare him to shoot. You mentioned the shooting last year, was kind of up and down. If you're a defender, you're like, all right, I'll play my odds. I know you're good at going to the rim. Let's see how good you are away from the rim. Yeah. So seeing that come out, and I think Wembanyama is going to help everybody, just the spacing. So perhaps that'll definitely help Keldon. But I got to see him be more finesse. We know he's a bulldog. They call him the Mustang for a reason. He bucks out there and he stomps and he goes at it. But if he could be more of a gazelle, kind of more of a free flow, smooth operator on the court, I think that'll be good for him. Because the one thing I fear, Rudy, out of KJ is he is what he is after year 5. I gotta see more out of him. I mean, does that never worry you that KJ may be who he is already?
That's kind of sad that we think that way, but the more and more you look at it after the last season and the way it continues, I mean, he had major expectations from Spurs fans coming off of that gold medal thing with the whole Olympic squad. And, he thought, okay, he's going to take another step. And he really took a small step, and then he kind of stopped. And that's kind of where I think the pulse is, and I think for me as well, and I said it a couple times before, that I think we've already kind of seen him hit his ceiling. And now it's just kind of like I said, that's the reason why I want to see more consistency. Because if you've hit your ceiling already, and we're not going to get that next jump, Keldon, then if you're going to hit that season, or if you're hitting that ceiling already, I want to see it just consistent there. Now you just got to keep continuing to touch that ceiling and just stay there. I don't know if he has or not. I always pictured him, improving to the likes. And again, not saying he's going to be a legend like this, but his game can amount to so much the way Charles Barkley did. I mean, just really ferocious, can get to the line, can take that, 18, 20-footer, can consistently knock down a three towards the end of his career like Barkley did. I really thought that could be the way Keldon could, develop into that similar style off the dribble, just, take it from coast to coast and just slam it with no hesitation or anything. But I don't think we're going to see that. I think he's already hitting the ceiling. He maybe has a little bit more he can jump up on, but I think we're seeing what we're going to get out of Keldon.
Interesting. But I think those adjustments that you want to see into next season of mine, it's not terrible. It's doable. We're not asking him to lead the league in three-point shooting or lead the league in assists or something like that. I think great. But just small, maybe at this point, instead of expecting leaps in development out of KJ, just expect steps. I think that's where I'm at right now. Just expect steps. Don't expect major leaps out of KJ. Just little by little get better. Hey, we're done talking. We want to hear from you. What do you think about Brian Wright? Is it time we give the man his due and give him that standing O? What moves have you liked out of him? Is there a move that you thought that went under the radar that should be highlighted from Brian Wright? Let us know. And KJ, is he who he is, or is there more? And what would you like to see him get better? Hey, Rudy, tell us what's going on with you. I know you're now part of a cycle, if you will, of hosts for the Alamo City Podcast Network on YouTube.
Yeah, so you'll catch me on the Alamo City Podcast from time to time with Joe Garcia. They got a lot of people on there, and it's a pretty cool thing. I mean, we talk sports, we talk everything, life and entertainment and stuff like that. So recently we all were on there, and Jeff joined as well. We were talking about GoBots and Transformers, so that's always fun. But, and also, you can go to wherever podcasts are available, look up Sweep the League. We're always talking about different sports and life, laughs, and sports. So be sure to just check out Sweep the League, and also check out the Alamo City Sports Network, the podcast network that they have. It's getting really big around here, really big.
Absolutely, yeah. Rudy's there, I believe, like once or twice a week, depending on the schedule. But nevertheless, you will find Rudy there talking all sports, not just Spurs. And follow him on Twitter at Sweep the League. And make sure to subscribe to Locked On Spurs wherever you get your favorite podcast, Google Play, Stitcher, iTunes, and the Kens 5 Plus app. And we thank you for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. You guys are the everydayers. We'll be back later this week for more chat about your silver and black. And hopefully I'll feel better. I'm pretty sure you can hear it, Rudy. I am very congested right now, so I got to make this quick. But for Rudy Campos, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.